What about all these retirements of Breeders' Cup horses lately? I mean, the Classic Division alone has lost Mucho Macho Man, retired. Game On Dude, retired. Will Take Charge, retired. Palace Malice, sort of retired. The Distaff Division, Princess of Sylmar, Dreaming of Julia, My Miss Aurelia, all retired. The Promising Juvenile Competitive Edge, probably retired. In a related story, Breeders' Cup has just announced a new event sponsor for this year, AARP. And thanks for dropping by Lenny's Place. We have a very special treat for you today. The first guest in our new studio, he's Mr. Mixed Martial Arts, that's on the Access Channel, and one of the best, finest, greatest horse racing sportscasters in the world. You know him from NBC, Mr. Kenny Rice. Welcome.
Lenny, honored to be the first guest in the studio. I love what you've done with the place. Renting, leasing,
leasing with an option, actually.
I don't blame you. This place is great.
Yeah.
This is Lenny's Place.
This is it. We have a basketball court set up, too.
I love it.
It's fantastic. All right, what a day of horse racing we had last Saturday. There are a few days a year where horse racing fans can really sit in front of their TV for 6 hours straight and just be bombarded with great races. I had barely time to go antiquing this week.
I know. I was the same boat.
Yeah,
I was out there, trying to sweep the leaves or four that had fallen in the backyard, and I was trying to, scoop them up nicely. And then I had to run back in. I had to run back in and see how they were doing.
Some great performances. We had American Pharoah, a very exciting 2-year-old. You've interviewed Bob Baffert enough to know that he's a very good poker player. He doesn't want to say too much. But with this horse, he used the F word. And when Bob Baffert says a horse is a freak, you better pay attention. He could barely control his enthusiasm with this horse.
And I don't blame him. I saw him at Del Mar, and I thought, wow, this horse might be a freak. And then Baffert's, when he says that, because like you say, he's not one that gets all excited about his horses.
And he does get excited. He just won't do it in front of the cameras.
Exactly.
And, he lets them play themselves out. Another wow performance, Beholder, only her third start of the season. She looked dynamite in the Zenyatta Stakes. She'll be going for her third Breeders' Cup win this year. Oddly, a Baffert horse named Secret Circle also will be going for his third. And as good as Close Hatches and Untappable have looked this year, they may be up against it going against Beholder at Santa Anita.
Yeah, it's great to see the special horses, and she is one, I think.
Yeah.
When you see, you wait for them to come back, and you say, well, I really hope they come back. Kind of like we saw Wise Dan earlier this year, you hope they still have it. And her fastball has not diminished. She's got it. So that's going to be great. And that showdown, basically, kind of like everybody, that's what the Breeders' Cup's supposed to be, and I think that will be one of the marquee races of the whole Breeders' Cup cards, the 2 days of it.
Yeah, and it's the East versus West.
East-West, it's perfect TV. You got the East, you got the West, you got all the major players. And, when we look at the way there's been injuries and retirements and all, not all the major players have made it to most of the races this year.
You got that right. By the way, anyone who wants to buy Beholder, she's going to be selling 2 days after the Breeders' Cup, so start looking for change under those couch cushions.
I'm looking now.
Yeah, we scooped that out already. Tonalist winning the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Like Beholder, who's a specialist at Santa Anita, Tonalist is a specialist. Unfortunately for him, he's a specialist at Belmont Park, which isn't going to help him a whole lot into the Breeders' Cup. That and the fact the Jockey Club Gold Cup isn't really a great prep for the Classic, but 3-year-olds in the Breeders' Cup, Tonalist, you've got the Speedball Bayern, and then of course you've got the undefeated Shared Belief, and you've got the Springtime Hero California Chrome. It's all about 3-year-olds.
It is all about 3-year-olds. That's it. And I felt bad for. It was such a tough break for Wicked Strong. And so because I think he was right there in the mix, and then Bayern, I saw him at the Haskell just blow everybody away. That was untappable going against the boys, and so you got these. I think it will be one of these three, and I'm kind of leaning towards Shared Belief right now. He just keeps getting better. It seems like.
Wouldn't it be funny if some 5-year-old came out of nowhere and wins the Classic?
Isn't that the way it is? No game on dude, no Mucho Macho Man really to get excited about this year because about everybody's been injured or retired. So yeah, that's it. Somebody comes out of the clouds.
Don't bet against it. Speaking of California Chrome, he of course took the horse racing world on a magical journey this spring, coming from modest origins, win the Derby, win the Preakness. Since then, that journey has taken some bad turns. It began when Delmar won a California Chrome parade between the races this summer. California Chrome's owners asked for $50,000. Delmar said no. The owner said it wasn't in the best interest of the horse to van him the 70 miles. 1 month later, Parks Racetrack offered the same owners $100,000 to send California Chrome on a 6,000-mile round trip. Well, the owners decided that was in the best interest of the horse. After all, who would want to prep for the Breeders' Cup Classic at Santa Anita by running in a race at Santa Anita? So, what's California Chrome's schedule leading up to the Classic? We have it right here, a Lenny's Place exclusive. On October 11th, California Chrome will be appearing at the Levitan Bar Mitzvah in La Jolla. For an extra $500, individuals can get a picture doing the hokey pokey with him. Try to get an invite to that. On October 16th, California Chrome would be raffling off free oil changes at the grand opening of the California Auto Parts Superstore in Riverside.
I'm actually staying for that. I will be there, yes.
Yeah, okay. You get all your parts there. October 18th, California Chrome will be at the Avocado Festival up in Sebastopol. That's up north. He's judging the guacamole making contest up there.
Not easy.
And on October 27th, he'll be cutting the ribbon at a condo conversion in West LA. That'll be at the Beverly Palms apartment. So listen, folks, if you need to book California Chrome, book early and make sure to bring your checkbook with you.
Only you have that. I've not heard that
Absolutely.
From anybody else.
It's a unique training regimen. That's where it's going to be. In all seriousness, or half seriousness, Kenny, of course, you had a front row the moment the California Chrome story started going wrong. That was at the Belmont Stakes, and you conducted easily the most famous interview in horse racing over the last, I don't know how many years.
Derby, those 20 horses that start in Kentucky are the only 20 eligible to run in all 3 races. This is the coward's way out.
Steve, I know it's a tough loss. We hope to see him down the road.
You know, we get a lot of mail from people on that particular incident who think, oh, the horse lost the race and somebody just decided to stick a microphone in the owner's face and, try to ambush. Explain all the planning that goes into these kind of interviews and these coverage of the Triple Crown races.
Yeah, well, Steve Coburn had been Perry Martin a little bit, but of course Steve Coburn was the front guy, more even than Art Sherman.
Yeah.
And so everybody knew we'd followed his story from the Santa Anita Derby, obviously the Derby and the Preakness, and it had been all about him. And we interviewed him and Perry. Actually, it was a rare interview to get Perry, prior to the race.
Right.
And that's when Steve talked about he'd signed thousands of autographs. He really actually may have. It was crazy, all the people around him. He was a rock star. And, a guy wearing a cowboy hat in New York, he was kind of easy to pick out since, John Voight was walking with Dustin Hoffman beside him. It's been a long time. And so the plan was this. I was going to interview him, win or lose.
Yeah, California Chrome is the story, win, lose, or draw in that race.
Bob Newmeyer was going to interview Art Sherman, win or lose. I was going to interview Steve Coburn, win or lose. And then if somebody else won, then Mike would pick up the other interview. So that was the deal. And I told Steve earlier in the day, I'm talking to you after the race, win or lose. Are we good with that? Yeah, we're good with that. I said, I want to reemphasize, it is win or it is lose, because things happen. And yeah, he was good with that. And even probably 2 minutes before we went on, because I think at that time, I'm trying to remember, Bob, I think, was interviewing Art, or maybe they were still doing the winning jockey, but I had a little bit of cushion there before so I said, Steve, are we still good with the interview? And he has no hesitation. We're still good with it. Disappointed, but we'll still do it. And so that was the way it went.
Yeah, and you see what happened there. Kenny, I mean, interviewing is not an easy art. You have to have a conversation with the person you're interviewing, but at the same time, while you're listening to their answers, you also have to be thinking, what's my next question? There's a lot of stuff going on all at once. What is going through your mind as you're listening to him implode?
I'm thinking, this is gold. This guy is saying something for a moment here. This is turning into a real sports event. It's not the standard, well, sorry about it all. He's making a case. He, in my opinion, was not rambling and ranting. He stayed on point. It was a point that probably several people were taken, 99% of the people in the horse world, I think, were taken aback that he would not be a gracious loser.
Right.
To which I told a few friends later that asked me about it. I said, well, he had not been at times even the most gracious winner. So, this is him. This is his personality. And, you talk to somebody, you can't say now you got to change your personality or your way of thinking to comply with this interview here, because this is what I got in mind. You know how it is. You interview someone, is a great writer that you are, and they take you on the story. So I realized then he's taking me on the story. And he's making his point. I think he would have certainly had a more valid point if he'd have made it earlier in the week. I don't like coming into this Belmont with these fresh horses going against mine, but this kind of comes out of the blue. But he stayed on point. His wife's poking him in the back, but he's staying on point. And there was no cursing, no other than calling a bunch of people cowards. But I don't think he singled out anybody particularly. It's basically if you had a new horse, you were a coward. And the whole time he's saying it, I'm thinking to myself, this interview is going to be something that goes well beyond the blood horse or well beyond the racing form or all this. It's going to be way outside the medium of horse racing now. And it was. I probably did a dozen radio interviews, and they all asked me, said, well, did you think about pulling the mic? I said, well, the man was making his point. I think a lot of people were interested, and it did create a conversation. I would never say fresh horses have to be on there. That makes it interesting. But what if they had a bonus system for the Triple Crown? Maybe you'd have horses run all the way through it more. I don't know. At least it brought up something later.
You try to protect your subject as much as possible. But in that case, it would have been a dereliction of your journalistic duty to pull the mic. I mean, it's a great story, and you're not going to pull the plug on it.
Well, thank you. No, I didn't think so either, because at that point is when you're interviewing somebody, it's not your place unless they just start making accusations and something then where you got to say, hold on, you got to give me a for instance here. But when they're making their case, and maybe it's something that you don't agree with, and you figure a lot of people watching are going to be going, what, or disagree with. It's not my job to edit the guy that I'm interviewing. I ask you a question, it's not my job to say, no, that's not the answer I want. And so I asked him, I wanted to be clear, so I think I followed up well enough that, hey, so you're saying, I just want to be clear. I'm pretty clear with this, but I want to be 100% clear with this. That, and he was, and he was, I saw Steve out at Del Mar. The thing is, afterwards, one of our producers said, I bet he changes his mind. I said, I bet he doesn't. And it's like 2 more days. He was on all the morning show. I said, look, this guy, first off, he's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing out there. And, he's not just some crazy wild guy that's running around. He's pretty focused. I think he knew exactly what he was saying. And I think that was all of his intentions until probably 48 hours later when somebody said, maybe we should tone it down a bit. We got some more racing. We got stud fees down the road. Let's get it back together a little bit.
We're not hating on the horse before you start typing on your keyboards, but you can still root for a horse and question some things that their owners do. So it was an unbelievable moment, probably the moment of the year, actually, in horse racing.
Somebody told me that keeps up with all this stuff, that only the Richard Sherman interview after the Seahawks victory has been viewed more among sports interviews.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
amazing.
Yeah.
We look forward to your Derek Jeter interview, by the way.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
Right. We want to thank our viewers. We want to thank our great sponsor, Darby Dan Farm. Of course, thank the great Kenny Rice. Great stuff. Thanks for telling that story.
Well, I'm a long way from home, which is my favorite book of the year, by the way. It's great to be here.
You're very kind, a very good friend. Drop by Lenny's place soon for our next show, and we'll see you then, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.